Welcome to the Hump Day Hangout podcast by Semantic Mastery, where we answer your local SEO questions every week at 4 p.m. Eastern. I'm Adam Moody, and my partner at Semantic Mastery, Bradley Benner, will be sharing his decades of expertise based on not only helping others, but running his own agencies and businesses in the space. If you'd like to join us live on YouTube each week, just go to www.semanticmastery.com/HDHO at 4 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays. If you'd like to ask a question ahead of time, go to the same link, www.semanticmastery.com/HDHO at any time and submit it there. Don't forget, you can get the Semantic Mastery Local SEO Toolkit for free at the same URL. Okay, let's get going with this episode. Hey everybody, welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. Today is the 26th of February, 2025, and this is episode number 355. We're going to answer your local SEO questions. We've got a couple of quick announcements, and we've got a special guest today. So let's just get into it and get going. So first thing I want to do is say hello to the guys and the special guest before we jump into a couple other things. So Chris, how you doing today?
Doing good, super busy. Been in the lab testing a couple things, so quite excited about that. And yeah, weather's getting warmer, spring is almost here, and yeah, time to get ready that I can also enjoy some more time outside.
Awesome. All right. Well, mystery special guest, Brian Caddo, how you doing, man?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Can't complain. Yeah, same as Chris, just staying busy and having fun playing with all the new tools and connecting stuff. And I think we're gonna end up talking about that probably. So, anyways, but
Hmm.
yeah, back to you.
Yeah.
How's life in Colorado?
Yeah, it's great. Weather here's been fantastic. Can't complain about that. I've just been busy prepping up for a couple conferences, spring training, stuff like that coming up, and yeah, just rocking and rolling, keeping my head down and nose to the grindstone, man.
Awesome. All right, Bradley. How about you? How are things going? Are you were you haven't flooded off the top of the mountain? You're not freezing or in flames?
No, I'm visiting family this week because I didn't get to 2 weekends ago because of the floods and the storms and
Yeah.
all. So I just kind of pushed it out, and I'm visiting some family now just till Friday. But I'm actually in the process of shopping for my own personal residence now because I've been living in that RV for a year and a half while I was developing property, and I'm tired of living in an RV. So I'm actually got appointments with to go view some properties on over the weekend. And so I'm going to be going back on Friday to do some property shopping. I've got two in particular that I'm going to probably make offers on. One is 50 acres,
Nice.
and one is 22 acres. So I'm getting a big ass piece of land, man, and it's fucking awesome. I can't wait for it, man. But I've always, ever since I was a teenager, I wanted a big ass piece of land, and I'm finally going to get one. So I'm
You gonna
anxious
get
to
some
get
sheep out there or what?
Oh yeah, well, and both properties are one's 2.2 miles from a major trail system, the other one's
Oh, nice.
1.5 miles. So either one, I can build my own kind of private trail system and then also rent it out for people that want to have privacy instead of being on a busy campground and still access the trail system. So again, that's just my retirement plan is to build these properties. And I actually just got funded today for a business loan for rail. It's pending. It's in between 150 and 250K is what my final approval is going to be. But I've got, because I'm out shopping for properties, I've not only found something for my personal residence, but other investment opportunities. And so I went through kind of a process for the last few days of applying for some business capital, and I got approved. So I'm looking forward to that, man. I'm going to be really buying and developing some properties over the next couple of years. So
Nice.
it's exciting.
Well, before we turn this into 2019 and land
Real
flipping,
estate.
yeah, real
Yeah.
estate Hump Day Hangouts. Bradley, I think you we or the DHA kicked off. Was that a week or 2 weeks ago? I'm losing track of time.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yes, sir.
So what's been going on over there?
Well, we're rocking and rolling. This is the third group of phase one, and so it's actually been incredibly quiet. Office hours, I do an hour in the morning available for everybody, anybody that needs support. And so far, only one person has popped in for support one day for about 15 minutes. And we're on today's the eighth, well, I guess the seventh office hours day. So that's a testament to how well developed the SOPs are. 'Cause people aren't asking questions. That's great. That, you know what I mean? That means the SOPs are that good, which I'm sure as we get further into it, people will pop in with questions. And we've already identified a couple things that needed to be updated in the SOPs. That's fine. That's precisely what this is for. Is I want people to give me feedback so I can go in and update them as needed. which is what we're doing. But very, very thorough SOPs. And I saw a question in today's questions about when phase 2 will be available. So I will address that at that time. I interrupted you.
I chose a poor time to go for a snack. I was like, all right, I can do it. Oh man. All right. Well, I'll just chipmunk cheek it and we'll just keep on rolling. So Brian, I want to not get one out of the way, but I mean, I want to know, and I'm pretty sure people who know you and I guess the people who don't know you, this could also be helpful. But like, do you mind just giving everyone the quick elevator pitch of who you are, what you do, and then I'm curious like what you've been up to?
Yeah. So a little bit about myself. Obviously, actually a Semantic Mastery Mastermind member for quite some time now. Met you guys back in 2019. I'm a digital marketing agency owner, serial entrepreneur. I've got my hand in a bunch of different projects right now. I've got some SaaS that we're working through. I've got a second agency that I started, which is kind of fun. I like staying busy. I like having my hand in a variety of different things. I'm a big time tester. I enjoy testing things. I enjoy pushing the limit on things and really kind of seeing, what's working in digital marketing today, be it SEO, CRO, strategic alignment, guerrilla marketing. I like having my hand in a lot of different things. I like staying busy. So that's what I've been up to right now. Big thing that I'm seeing right now is brand building with clients. I mean, brand is everything. I mean,
100%.
if anyone has not got on that boat yet, you're
100%.
really missing the mark. So, what that means and how we align the brand in a variety of different ways, that's, there's a few different ways that we can do that. And foundationally, yeah, like everything that we do has very rooted background in a lot of the stuff that Semantic has taught over the years. So
That's awesome, man.
Nice. Well, I mean, I've got some questions too, and I'm without spilling too many beans, but on the AI front, my personal opinion, I'm like, people are like, oh, we're in the bubble or the bubble's over or, all sorts of stuff. For me, it's like, yeah, we get the wave up, down. But there's still for me the explosion of things to use. Although I've come down to realize like right now I'm really using like 3 or 4 things on a regular basis.
yeah.
Which is normal, right? Like we can't each use 100 tools like until we build the agent that can or something. But how about
Right.
you? Like what are some of your go-tos that you've been using and you find helpful, at least from the agency perspective?
So a lot of what I've been doing with AI is just building small utilities and small tools that I, will use on the daily. I'm not looking for this is the one tool that solves them all, but I'm looking for little tiny utilities that maybe like I want to analyze, title tags on all of these websites, or I want to find, various linking opportunities or fill in the blank. I'm building small utilities that do things like that, doing a lot of Python coding with it, which has been a lot of fun. But I'm kind of sticking to the primary ones. I mean, there are, it's always fun to dabble in a variety of things, but I think it's interesting as marketers. We're always like, ooh, new toy, new toy, new toy. AI hasn't really even hit mass adoption yet. So,
No.
we get bored with it and we're like, oh yeah, let's look at the next big thing. But in all honesty, if you talk to people outside of marketing, the Chat GPT, they may or may not have heard about it. Gemini's made a pretty good push, with Super Bowl ads, things like that. But in general, not a lot of people know about AI or how to fully leverage it. So I think that that's a huge opportunity for us as marketers to, hey, look, we can make this thing stupid simple for you as the layman outside of the marketing community and really bring the AI, like all the complexities of that into a very simple, nice, neat package for people. So
Very cool. Yeah, I think I've waited other than for basic content stuff and research stuff, where I would use ChatGPT and but other than that, I was really waiting until the AI had advanced enough to where it became easier to then manage and build, start building tools or agents and things like that. And so recently I joined a couple of, school programs that are about building AI agents and stuff like that. Julian Goldie's got a good one. It's got a really good one.
Yeah, his is really good.
Yeah, his is really good and it's cheap. It's only $47 a month. So it's not that to his school community or whatever, it's not that bad. But so I finally got in and started playing with N8N, and I've been doing a ton of stuff with Grok 3. I fucking love Grok. That's badass, man.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think the right handwriting's on the wall. I think the future of how we integrate AI into our agencies is not necessarily the the one tool to rule them all, but building utilities and tools and things like that to just simplify and make things efficient and reduce costs and overhead. Because I was talking about how I've got, 28 employees at Semantic Links, and I could probably build the tools or the automations, the AI agents, essentially to replace 2/3 of my employees if I wanted to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think there's an opportunity for us to. I know, and everybody says, "Well, we're going to be replaced by AI." Some people will, but others, I think, can be ascended up into managing the tools, right? And maybe be more productive because they're operating some of those AI agents, managing them, orchestrating them, so to speak. So
Absolutely. And funny you should say that, because I've spoke at a couple colleges in the area as well. They've had me come in and talk about AI and stuff like that. And the funny thing is that you're absolutely right. People are like, "Oh my God, we're going to lose our jobs. We're going to be replaced with AI." And my argument to that is, I don't think so. I think
yeah,
that the people that understand AI, they're the ones that are going to take your job, because that's the person that can replace 10 employees, 20 employees. One person that understands how to really integrate AI and how to leverage it properly, they're going to be the one that takes over 10 jobs.
yeah,
It's the ones that are stuck in the, no, we don't want to move forward on this. We don't want to integrate this, that are really kind of holding back on that. Those are the ones that are going to end up getting replaced, unfortunately. And it's all about efficiency, right? If I could have one person, like you're saying, that does 2 to 3 times more work
that's
with
right.
half the amount of resources, as a business owner, that just makes financial sense for me.
That's right. Adam?
Cool, guys. Yeah, I mean, well, I could sit here and talk AI stuff for the next 49 minutes, but yeah, I think we should probably jump into questions. And Brian, I think you're going to hang out for a bit, and
Yeah, happy to.
yeah, so let's get into that and make sure we get through them, and then if we got time, we can keep talking at the end. But I think we'll probably end up just focusing on questions.
Well, just like I said, I want to always do this whenever Brian's part of our presentations or webinars or whatever, and that is just special shout out, Brian. Man, I can't tell you how much appreciate you, man. I say that every time I see you. I know that, but it's important for me to say that publicly. I want to announce that just because Brian and I were in a mini mastermind, which we're about to join another one together. It seems that it appears we might be joining another little mini mastermind together for AI related stuff this time. But we did it for almost 2 years. Weekly, we met with a couple other people where we were going and studying sales and learning how to become better at sales so that we could sell our services to businesses, et cetera, sell our SEO and monetize our marketing skills, so to speak. And it was absolutely transformative for me. And 2 years of that completely transformed my businesses. I've quadrupled my revenue since then. I'm not scared of selling anymore at all. I'm actually pretty damn good at it. You know what I mean? And so it just goes to show you having a little accountability partners, these little mini masterminds, and you can help to build each other up and make faster progress. Two heads is better than one, right? So it's just, I think when you have accountability partners and things like that, it really does help you to grow and achieve more faster, so to speak. Does that make sense? So shout out Brian for that, and I'm looking forward to the next round of this if we do it again.
Absolutely. It sounds like a blast. I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to
man.
that.
Right on. All right, guys, we got a lot of questions, so I'm going to grab the screen and we're going to get into it. And Brian, if you want to help tag team on some of these and give me your opinion on these as well, this is going to be fun.
Sweet.
All right, sweet. So let's jump into it. I'll grab the screen. First one is from Colton. He says, will phase 2 of the DHA be included in the SOPs? If so, when? I'm interested in the mastermind. Yes, well, there will be SOPs, obviously, for components of phase 2, because phase 2 is supposed to be about sales and fulfillment of the front end services that we are basically developing and pitching as part of DHA phase 1. Remember, DHA phase 1 is building the infrastructure, the marketing and lead generation machine. Phase 2 is sales and fulfillment. And so there is some training at the end of phase 1 about the front end services, how to fulfill them, et cetera. But I really encourage people to use our white label services initially until they get through phase 2. Then they can bring it in house because there will be SOPs available for you to build your own fulfillment teams in house for the front end services. But initially, I want people focusing on the marketing and sales side of things, which is why I recommend that you use our white label services so that you're not stuck in fulfillment mode instead of prospecting and selling. I want you guys generating more revenue, right? Once you have your revenue needs met, your cash flow needs met, then you can start to bring the fulfillment in-house because it's going to add complexity. It will increase your margins, but it's going to add complexity to your business. So don't do that until you have your cash flow needs met. So focus on marketing and sales up front, right? So then phase two, there will be SOPs for the fulfillment side of things. It's hard to create SOPs for sales training though. So other than me just adding to the SOPs, recordings of my sales calls with tree contractors, there's not really much that I can add to the SOP as far as sales training. So the phase two program will be 6 weeks, and it's going to be intensive sales training with the fulfillment SOPs. Really, there's not much training on the SOP or the fulfillment side other than just the SOPs. Certainly, people can ask questions. It's more about the sales training is what phase two is going to be about. And I've gotten pretty damn good at selling SEO services over the last few years. So I can certainly help you guys with that. But sometime by the end of March, I expect to have phase two launched. Okay. So hopefully that answers the question.
I've gotten a couple of Bradley's emails, by the way. So
Oh, I'm
yes,
sure.
they are very good.
It works, man. It works like crazy. We've got well, here's the next question. Perfectly, I can demonstrate this. He's iPhone. What's up, buddy? He says, how many emails do you send per day in cold email outreach? So I opened up instantly just to show this is a campaign that is just now starting to dwindle down. So I've actually just put a note in tomorrow's to add new contact list to instantly. That's in my office hours meeting schedule. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to add another contact list to instantly. But this one started on Thursday, January 9th. There was 593 contacts in this list. And we send out, you can see the blue line at the top there. That's the number of emails we send on a daily basis. So 60. So I've got 4 accounts. I'll just show you. Let me go into the campaign and I'll show you. If we go in here, we've got 4 accounts that we're mailing from. Each account are mailing 15 per day. Does that make sense? So we're sending out 60 leads or 60 cold emails per day. And you can see that we've had 582 out of 593 have been contacted. And we had 44 opportunities, which are 44 leads. And those are leads that have replied. 74% open rate on cold email, guys. 74% open rate on cold email. What do you think of that, Brian? Pretty good rate, huh?
Pretty
Pretty good
awesome.
rate. So that's what I run. I run about 15 emails, or excuse me, 60 emails per day. It can't, that generates typically for me anywhere between 3 to 5 booked appointments per week. Right now, with the automations turned on that are booking the appointments now, which now we're not doing that manually. It's automated. So that's about right now the extent of what I can handle with my current schedule. However, I have put some salespeople into my semantic links organization. I got 2 sales reps in there now. And so that's actually freed up quite a bit of my time. So I'm thinking I'm going to be increasing my sending volume, probably 20% or excuse me, 25% to around 80 emails per day. And that should increase my booked calls, probably another 1 or 2 per week. So I'm going to probably be enabling that tomorrow when I add a new list in, increasing it to 80 emails per day and see how that performs. So good question. Moving on. Brian, are you doing any cold email stuff?
Yeah, I am. I'm doing a little
Okay.
bit of cold email. Definitely need to dive into more of it. But yeah, cold email still works, and I'm
fucking works. Yeah,
surprised.
it
Like
does.
everyone, you hear it all the time. Stuff like, oh, email's dead, SEO's dead,
No.
blah blah blah's dead. No, all of
Yeah,
it's
it
still
works.
very much alive and works very well.
I mean, that's other than our YouTube channel, 100% of the leads generated from my agencies are done through cold email. So,
Nice.
and it works. When it's done right, it works, man. Jim says, how did you structure a website for a service area business versus a physical location business? I wouldn't change a damn thing. I'd structure it the exact same way. Now, the only difference is, I talk about one page for every service or product, like top level product or service, and then one page for each location that you want to target for search exposure. And so a storefront business typically still wants to get search exposure. So they can still treat it like it was a service area business in the website structure, in that you can have supporting location pages so that you can create an association between the locations and the top level products or services that company provides. So you can still do that. So it depends on how big of an area you're trying to target with a storefront business versus a service area business. A storefront business typically is going to try to target a narrower geographic area. So you might just want to have tighter kind of parameters for what pages you build as supporting location pages. So instead of maybe all the adjacent cities and towns, maybe you're targeting communities, neighborhoods, districts, boroughs, et cetera, within a particular city. But in any case, it makes sense, in my opinion, to have supporting location pages to add more geographic relevance so that you can expand and get wider coverage in local search. So I don't think there's really much difference one or the other. It's just about the kind of area in which you're trying to cover. So it just changes how you're targeting or what you're targeting in your supporting location, supporting location page optimization. Hopefully that's clear. Any comments from you, Brian?
Yeah, I think it goes without saying, but service area businesses, I don't think it's any secret to anyone that those are going to get less visibility than, say, your brick and mortar. I don't think that's any secret to anyone. If you have to do, if at all possible, my general recommendation is try and get a physical one. If you can,
Yes.
awesome. If you can't and you have to go SAB, then exactly as you're saying, I would treat it no different. I would try and still push that proximity, prominence, and relevance into the service area business. So,
yeah. And I mean, even with the physical location, storefront business, published street address, you can still, like, let's talk about attorneys, law firms. Guys, law firms are storefront type businesses, right? They have an office, a law office, and published street addresses, but I don't think I've ever audited or analyzed a attorney law firm site that wasn't set up like a service area business, in that it's trying to target as large an area as possible. So they have a bunch of supporting location pages,
exactly.
Targeting all the areas within what would traditionally be a service area business, even though they are a storefront business. So it's just about how much exposure you want to get in local search. So the more exposure, you want to. It's the way that I structure service area business sites is how I would structure a storefront business if I'm trying to get wider coverage. So no difference is what I'm saying. Just the geographic targeting might be slightly different. Matt says, what address do you use for organic only LLG sites? You don't. Well, you don't use a street address. You just pick a city. And you can reference a street name, but you don't give it an address. But typically for LLG, look, you can look at some of my sites just as an example. I don't remember which ones I don't have. Let's look at one of these. This one doesn't have a GVP. Yeah, so this one has the address down here at the bottom. It just says Manchester, New Hampshire. So there's no street or anything else. It's not necessary. Remember, this is an organic only asset, guys. You do want to localize it, but you don't have to assign an address to it until you have an address. If that makes sense. So you just reference city, state, and zip code for whichever area you expect to build it out on. Okay. Matt says, do you still recommend having a things to do section for geographic relevance? Yes, currently, because I haven't tested taking it out. Honestly, I know somebody brought that up probably 2 months ago and asked if that was still needed. And I said, well, it needs to be tested if it can be taken out or not. The things to do, top sites, etc. Those are just points of interest that add geographic relevance to those pages. I don't know. Honestly, I don't know because it needs to be tested. I'm currently still including them in my sites because I haven't tested that. And I know from previous tests, which are over 2 years old now, that adding the geographic relevance data points improved results. So I haven't tested it recently to see if that is still required or not. So I'm just still continuing to do it. So I don't really have a good answer. Brian, do you have any comments on that?
I would still keep it in. The only caveat that I would add to it is just be careful on how much you're doing that. I have seen some issues in the past where like people really go really hard and heavy on, the things to do, and it starts to make your site feel a little bit more like a tourism site.
Yeah.
And less relevant to whatever service it is. So that's the only thing that I would look at is just make sure you're not going like whole hog on it. It's still important to have on there. It's still important for geographic relevance. Just don't go overboard.
Yeah, I agree, because I think you could dilute the focus of the site if you try to put too much of that stuff in there. Huzzy, which I'm assuming is Uzaifa, just a abbreviated version. He says, how do you decide which keywords to track that generates the most leads? I use the same keyword research process that I've done for years, which is a very simple process. It's, especially now, I think it's easier than it used to be because I just focus on top level category type, like Google business category, top level type terms. Because if you optimize for those, you're going to rank for all the long tails that Google's associated with that category anyways. So it's super simple, but it's the same process I've been using, guys, which is I use Google Trends for just about, that's always my starting point because Google Trends shows search interest. by date or time frame, and also by location. And so here's in my industry, the primary search queries. And then there's stump grinding too, but you can't get 6 keywords in here because stump grinding is also a keyword that generates a lot of traffic and leads. But you can see these are the primary search queries other than stump grinding. These are the primary search queries that we use in tree service. Now there's all kinds of variants: tree care, tree removal service, tree trimming service, variants of those, right? Tree cutting service and things like that. But you can see the search interest. I set it for 12 months, United States. And then you can always come down and look at each one of these search queries is going to have its top rising and top. So the difference here is rising means over the amount of time frame that I selected up here, there has been a significant increase in search interest for these particular phrases. And I believe if you see it say breakout, I believe that's above 2,500% increase. I believe it's that. But usually it'll show the percentage. And again, that's percentage of increase in search interest over the time selected. And so these are good ways to identify that. I've talked about this all the time. This is how you can find brands to poach traffic from, because a lot of these brands do not optimize their homepage or their website for their brand because they have local SEOs that are optimizing for keywords instead. And so you can actually go optimize a page like a cloud page for the brand, and in multiple, the H1 and then H2s have the brand name. And then you can outrank their money site for a brand search and poach traffic away from them using something like a sneaky redirect or a 301 meta refresh, a meta refresh or something like that. So that's one way to do it. But then just look at the top terms. These are the top related search queries historically that have been related to the seed query. And so here's where you can identify, again, you can just like tree service being the primary query. This one is the one that has the most interest, as you can see up here. Right? This is not a search volume tool. It's a search interest tool. Hopefully that's clear. But you can see the related search queries that are related to that one, right? And so I always start with Google Trends to identify the keywords, the related queries to the seed term, the rising queries to see what is trending, which in my industry, it's mostly brand searches that are trending. And then after I've determined which keywords are the most relevant, then I'll go over to WriterZen. I use WriterZen. I love this keyword tool. I mean, this is the only thing I use it for is keyword research. But I love it for this reason because of the all-in title function. And so like in this case, I just put tree service in. It brought back 4,800 keywords. And then I add the golden filter, which is the all-in title function. And it gives me the search volume, CPC values, and the all-in titles so that I can quickly identify the keywords that have, decent search volume, decent CPC values, but low all-in titles. And that's typically when I will identify the locations that I want to target, because I'll look at the keywords that have low all-in title numbers, but still have decent search volume with decent CPC values. And then those are areas that I want to go target. That's clear. So that's the process I go through, guys. It's a very simple process now. I think it's gotten easier to do keyword research now that it's not a keyword-based algorithm. Topics and categories are much easier to optimize for, in my opinion, than keywords were. Your thoughts and opinions, Brian?
Keep it stupid simple. Do this. Like, do exactly what you're doing. Keep it stupid simple. Like, there's no need to overcomplicate this.
Yeah. You remember the days of spending hours and hours and hours on keyword research?
Yeah, right? Like
I do. And I hated
row
it,
after
man.
row after row of like,
Yep.
okay, what about this one? Yeah, no, just keep it stupid simple.
Yep. Top level service categories is all I really care to optimize for now. The long tails will follow.
I would like to say that I'm Adam Moody and I have a keyword research problem. I enjoy keyword research.
I don't, man. It's tedious.
Yeah.
So, all right, Fox. What's up, Fox? There's another location-based business question here. Which GBP should link to the homepage if there are multiple, say 10 plus? None. In my opinion, you should have a dedicated location landing page for each location. You optimize the homepage for a semantic triple statement that is an entity association statement to state who the business is first, lead with the brand in the SEO title of the homepage. For the love of God. Then what you do, which is broad terms, broad entity-based terms as to what the company does, products or services they provide, and then where they do it in the broadest terms possible. So if all 10 locations can fall within a location entity, a defined location entity, it could be a state, or it could be a county, it could be a city or a metropolitan region. It could be a larger region. It could be a state. It could be a multi-state region. it doesn't matter, but just find what the appropriate location entity is that you can reference on the home page that is a true semantic triple statement. It's an entity. So this is who we are. This is what we do. This is where we do it. And then you add specificity through inner pages. And you can have the top, like, this is who we are, this is what we do, and this is where we do it in this particular city. So that's where, again, if you have 10 GBPs, I would have 10 dedicated location landing pages. The homepage would not be linked to any one GBP. That's how I would do it.
100%.
Is that how you would do it too, Brian?
100%. That's
Awesome.
I was just looking at this earlier today. The biggest problem I see with a lot of guys that are doing multiple GBP locations is that they try and direct everything to the home page. Each
Correct.
GBP should have its own landing page.
100%. Yep. And I want to just kind of very quickly pull this up. So guys, I've talked about this many times before, but there's 4 data points, right? We always talk about name, address, and phone number, right? But there's really 4. It's web address too. So name, address, phone, and web address, right? So you should only ever have one common data point when it's a multi-location business. Typically, that's going to be the name, unless you append a city modifier, location modifier to the name, which is, I do recommend doing that when possible. But a lot of times, maybe sometimes the client doesn't want that, et cetera. But you should only ever have one common data point across those 4, or else you're going to cause location ambiguation. You're going to pollute what Google understands about a particular location. You'll see it in the citation tracker reports. It confuses the shit out of the citation trackers. So if the name is going to be consistent, which it should be, right? Unless there's a modifier appended to it, then the physical address should be unique. Each location obviously would have its own address. A phone number should be unique, and the web address, so dedicated location landing page. It's all in the same domain, but it's a unique landing page URL per GBP. Does that make sense? Okay. Moving on. Huzaifa says, do you know any good options to get toll-free numbers for non-US residents? If you have high level, I think you can buy US numbers in high level no matter where you are. I'm not in the US. So I don't know, but I'm assuming I'm pretty sure that if you're in high level, you can buy US numbers no matter where you're located.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure as well.
Yep. Yeah. So just get high level, Huzaifa. I don't know how anybody's running their business without high level this day and age, like as a marketer, you know what I mean? I still remember, Brian, when you introduced me to, was it Bruno Souza many, many years ago? And that was how I got introduced to high level between you and him. And I resisted it for like 2 years. And now I can't imagine my agency without it, really.
Yeah.
So anyway, Sam says, what are your thoughts on on listing a business as open 24 hours on Google profile? I do that with my tree contractor sites because we have a 24-hour answering service. So their normal operating hours, they have normal operating hours, but it's listed as open 24 hours because the phone gets answered 24 hours a day. So that's what I do for tree service contractors. They might have normal operating hours, but as soon as I add an answering service to the contractor company, to their business, then we change the GBP to 24 hours. Any comments on that?
No, that's great practice.
Yeah. Additionally, I have a client with a service area business. Is it worth convincing them to make their street address public for better rankings? Yes, but you got to make sure that they're fully aware of the risks and get their okay on it before doing. You got to make sure you're 100% transparent with them. I tell that to my tree guys. Tell my tree guys all the time, listen, I know you have an unpublished street address. You work from your home. I get it. But we can get better results if we publish your street address. However, you have to be made aware that publishing a street address can likely trigger re-verification or possibly even a suspension. So I make sure that before I encourage them to do that, that they have the proper documentation and everything to re-verify or request reinstatement and stand a very good chance of having the re-verification or reinstatement being accepted, which means, again, we have to make sure they have all the paperwork and everything else is correct and appropriate. And then I tell them, like, so I encourage it, but you have to be aware there is a level of risk. And if this happens, we can most likely get it recovered, but there is always that chance that it will be denied. And so that's my recommendation is that we do it, but I'm going to let you make the ultimate decision. And I let then the client make the decision. And if they're, most tree guys are types of guys that will tree guys by nature, I think, take more risks than a lot of others. So most of them will agree and do it, but sometimes they'll say no. I don't want to take the chance, and we have to honor that. And then I tell them, okay, just understand it's going to be harder for us to get you results, but we can still work without it. So,
Mhm.
what are your comments on that, Ryan?
I 100%. If you can show the physical address, and if that means you need to get uh, an office, virtual office with reception services, things like that, that's a part of the whole idea of marketing, right? The thing is with when it comes to actually having your business located there, like physically, you're just gonna the bottom line is you're gonna get better results. I think it's also interesting, like it should, in my opinion, it should also go into your SOP, have your oh shit folder, right? With the business information, the documentation that you're going to need. Like that's a part of our SOP that when we onboard a client, I'm going to need all this just in case. It's kind
Hmm.
of like having a bug out bag, right? In case you need it, it's there. Hopefully, we'll never need it,
Yeah,
but it's always a good idea to have that stuff on hand and in place. So
yeah.
that would be my recommendation. Have the folder, have it readily available.
And here's the thing: when I onboard new clients, new tree contractors, part of the process now is I send them a high level survey. It's 4 slides, and that is all of their business information. When they submit that, it's now a contact record in their sub account that I just deployed for them so that I have all of their business information, their EIN, the type of business it is, all that, the registered agent, all of that stuff is there so that we can immediately apply for toll free verification and A2P registration. And that's 80% of the work is now done when they are filling out that onboarding form. That is a collection of most of what we need to re-verify a GBP. Other than they have to have some paper documentation and signage. Other than that, we have most of the data that we need to be able to re-verify with Google their corporate entity if needed. So again, it's just like Brian said, it's really part of the SOP. I have not been telling them though to get paperwork ready just in case, and so I probably will. That's a great idea, Brian. I'll probably add that to my SOP.
Sweet.
So thank you. Thoughts on cold DM outreach on social media? Do you have any strategies for it? No, I mean we just do it for Facebook pages for tree contractors because that's all that. Sorry, I just stopped share. I didn't mean to do that, but tree contractors aren't on most other social media platforms. At least, well, I'm not on Instagram and I don't care to be, so I'm not sure if they're there, but most tree guys are on Facebook. And so we do it through High Level. I'll just show you. I'll grab the screen. We just do social posts through High Level, through Tree Care HQ Social Planner or whatever. And we have a specific way of doing it. Let me show you very quickly. Facebook, God damn it. Right here. All right, so my VAs do this, but they just go into the social planner, and it's what we basically do is when they have you see how it's got we're like at mentioning them or checking in or whatever. So you can see that we basically what we do is just publish a post on our Tree Care HQ page, and it basically sends a message, a tag, a notification to the page, the Facebook page for the company that tells them that they've been mentioned by us. And so that's what we do. And then we do everything through cold email, SMS, and now voice AI is how we do most of our outreach and our communication. This is just another way once the listing has been published to just remind them that we're there. And then we do sometimes they will comment via Messenger, and I will take the conversation just enough to get them off of Facebook into High Level via SMS, email, or voice, or Zoom calls for that matter. Because I don't like to run my business in any social media platform. Honestly, I don't. I can't stand Facebook, to be honest with you. But I do find that it's useful for tagging their pages because most tree guys are on Facebook. That's the only strategy I use for social media. Brian, what about you?
So there's a tool that I've used in the past. It's pretty good. It's called FlowChat, and it integrates directly within High Level. There's a lot of other stuff it can do, but basically it can go to a Facebook page or an Instagram page, LinkedIn page, Twitter page individual profile, mind you. And then it can scrape all of the followers, throws them into kind of a DM list that you can then reach out to or try to connect with people. There's an entire strategy about this. I've gone through a couple courses and a couple different masterminds that leverage that strategy quite a bit. There probably is a way more in-depth conversation than what we'd have time for today with, but the quick and dirty of it is be careful. Like, yes, it does work. It's incredibly effective. Hand-raising posts work really well. Like, hey, I've got room for 5 more people, depending on your niche. I've got room for 5 more people. Raise your hand. Let me know if you're interested in doing that. You'll see this all the time with people that are doing coaching, strategic stuff, all that kind of stuff on Facebook. The caveat to that is when you're in people's DMs, do not abuse it, right? Like the worst thing that you're going to do is you get the "hi, sir," and then you're like, "Yeah, what the fuck do you want?"
Right. You know, a pitch
Right?
is coming.
And you're like, "All right, come on, get it over with."
That's right.
Immediately, like as soon as if someone friends me and immediately they're hitting me in the DMs on stuff like that, they're immediately banned. Like I have a 0 tolerance policy with that. So it's be respectful if you are going to do DM outreach, like actually like carry on a little bit of a conversation before you immediately start moving in for asking for the sale. That said, ask for the sale, go for no, right?
Yep.
So,
well, and here's a little tip.
That goes back to the sales training we looked at. Yeah.
That's right. And here's a little tip. Don't think that just by going to the person that you're DMing, going to their profile and liking the last 300 posts that they've published, that you're going to get their curry favor with them. So where they're going to buy your stupid offer. And I'm not saying that specifically to whoever asked this question, who's IFA. I'm not saying that to you specifically. Why I'm saying that is because all the time I try to stay out of Facebook, period, because I don't like it. But I do still check on it fairly often. And I'll see that there will be like in my notifications where somebody from India or somewhere in the world liked about 30 of my posts. And then there's a DM. And it's like, do you think that works? Or maybe it does. Maybe that's why they keep doing it. I don't know. But flattery, just liking my posts is not enough flattery for me to want to then listen to your stupid pitch. You know what I mean? So just be smart about it. Be tactful about it, right? Have some strategy to it if you're going to do it. That's why we do it the way I'm showing you here, because before we ever try to pitch any tree contractor, any one of our services, we have developed a lot of rapport and goodwill. We've provided them multiple communication opportunities where we haven't pitched them a goddamn thing. We ask them questions about their business. We give them something of value, a directory listing that we optimize, and then ask them to review it for their approval. So that's what the booked appointment is. That is the listing delivery appointment, which is the start of the sales conversation. This is after several days of multiple contacts back and forth between, it's automated, but between my agency and the contact at the tree care company. And so by the time we deliver the listing to them, they don't feel like they're going to be pitched to because we haven't pitched to them yet. And we've contacted them multiple times. And so they're a lot more open to it. And I tell the contractors on the call, I had 2 today, actually. There, you can see them in my calendar. I had one at 7 or 8 o'clock this morning and one at 12 p.m. And when I get on those calls, I tell them right off the bat, I say, listen, we're going to do 2 things on this call. Number 1, we're going to review your listing, make sure everything is accurate and to your liking. And number 2, I'm going to point out some issues that we identified when we were optimizing your listing that are preventing you from getting jobs within the areas that you claimed you want to get jobs within. Does that make sense? Should we continue this conversation? And I do exactly what I'm doing now. I'd start nodding my head even if I'm on a phone and they can't see me, it's just habit. I do it. And now not once have I had a tree contractor say, no, I'm not interested, and hang up on. They stick around. We review their listing. That's usually a 3 to 5 minute conversation. And then after that, that's when I transition. I say, okay, now we're going on the second part of this call. I told you I was going to identify some issues or address some issues that we identified while we were optimizing your listing. And then present you with some low cost options to help you to start to resolve these issues. I'm not telling them we're going to solve them for them, because now we're talking about higher retainer value services. I'm talking about low cost front end stuff, simple low cost things that we can apply to your campaign, right? Your company right now to help you to get better results in your local area. And why do I do that? Well, because I want to hook them on something low cost so that it's easy for them to say yes. And then once we get them in under whatever service that they originally agreed to, then we can show that we can deliver as promised. We continue that kind of more communication with them in the early stage after the sale, because you don't want buyer's remorse. Like a lot of times, I know a lot of agencies that when they close a client, it's like they go quiet and dark afterwards. And you always get clients second guessing whether they made the right choice. And so we continue the kind of additional conversation through the kind of delivery of the whatever service it is that they ordered initially. And then through that process, again, we build more goodwill, more trust, and then we can ascend or start pitching ascension services to them. So more robust marketing services that are going to help them to get even better results. It's a very long process that I've, developed starting with Brian knows 4 or 5 years ago when we were in our little mini mastermind together, man.
I was
It's
saying
evolved so
you've
much.
implemented quite a
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. And it works, man. It's
Yeah.
again, guys, think about how you as any of you guys here probably get a lot of pitch emails. Or you work with clients to get a lot of pitch emails. And it's the way that people approach that is almost like it's offensive. You know what I mean? Like, and so if you're just smart about it, which is the angle that we take, like, again, we developed through the whole directory process, the whole DHA program is specifically to do this so that we can build rapport and get trust from the contact before we ever present them with an offer. And it makes all the world of difference. It really, really does. And by the way, a lot of the times on that listing delivery call, they're not ready for whatever services I have to offer. And that's fine. I tell them right up. Again, at the beginning of the call, I tell them, look, you're not obligated to purchase anything. I'm going to present you with some simple, low-cost options that will help you to start to resolve these issues. And if it's not the right timing for you right now, hey, the door is open to you. We'll be here whenever you're ready. And then what happens? They get off the call, and then I plug them into a nurture sequence that is specifically an email sequence that is it's a problem agitate email sequence, a problem agitate solution email sequence that pushes the pain of what we identified on the call. So they're already aware of it. Guys, you understand NLP, that creates an open loop. That is now something that's going to nag at them, whether they want to admit it or not. It's going to nag at them until it gets resolved. And so now I've got them in their nurture sequence that just reminds them, hey, we're here. And it's not a pushy sequence, right? So, and then they can go from one sequence to another to another. And through that process, we can do other things like add, for example, a rep video, David Sprague's rep video. We can reach out to them a week after the call and say, by the way, we decided to add some more value to your listing free of charge. We added a rep video, or what we call as a review commercial. That's how we call it. We say it to tree contractors. Here, go check out your listing. Tell me what you think. What did we do? Again, we're not asking for anything. We're just back in their inbox, telling them we're there again and showing them that we can do things for their business to make them look better, right? It's a great strategy, guys. Because, I mean, even 6 months later, I'll have a contractor contact me and say, hey, I'm ready to get started. When I haven't, other than automated emails and stuff, I haven't had any communication with them in 6 months. And it snowballs. And so over time, all of a sudden, you'll start landing more and more sales from work that you did 6 or 8 months ago. No kidding. So. All right, Whose Life says, what entity assets should we create for LLG brand as a whole in the beginning when it is new and not rented out? Not really much of anything other than I do an ID page. You can do an ID page, but I really don't recommend building branded assets for your LLG branded sites or location sites until you have a paying client. And then you use their budget, part of their budget, to build the branded assets in that area. And that's, in my opinion, 100% legal or ethical, because that asset is going to benefit their business while they're a paying client. So I don't like to, I build the organic only assets to rank in organic search, which is just on my domain. And then I don't like to start building branded supporting assets for each location until I have a paying client in that area. Brian, you don't do a whole lot of lead gen stuff, do you? You just do retainer work. Is that correct?
No, I do both.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Yeah. So with lead gen, that's exactly the way that we do it. I might make a couple things that are the idea here is like low cost, high value, right? So we may go through and one of the tools that I know we've talked about in the past is like Designer, or Typeset's another one that I've been using quite a bit lately, where you can make these assets very quickly. Be it whether it's a cloud site, an ID page, whether it's something that's, again, low cost, high value for them, or a high perceived value. I will occasionally do stuff like that, but when I'm doing 100% with lead gen type stuff, until you're a paying client of mine, like the bar's set kind of here. right? I'm not going to go above and beyond until we actually have a contract in place, because at the end of, if I'm doing too much of that, then I'm doing free work.
That's right.
So, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, and for me, it was just, you know, because there's been times where I've put a lot of energy and resources into building lead gen assets that I never end up monetizing.
Mhm.
And so, you know, that's a lot of wasted effort and sometimes money. And so I've learned over the years not to do that, right? You get the buyers first, then you build the assets, right?
Yep.
It's almost like as a course creator, we've learned don't create courses thinking that they're going to sell. You put up a sales page at pre-sale and see how much interest there is before you develop the course. If there's not enough interest, now you know don't develop the course. You know what I mean? So it's just learning through experience when to build the assets to Zypha. You'll get there.
Yeah.
For cold email, doesn't matter which provider we choose to buy our domains. Not that I'm aware of.
No.
The domain registrar, I don't think has any bearing on email deliverability.
Nope.
The domain itself does, but the registrar I don't think matters. And Brian says no, and I believe Brian. So Alex says, and we got a long one coming up from Sherman. By the way, Sherman, I see you're on, buddy. It's a long time, man. God damn, Sherman, it's probably been at least 10 years since I've chatted with you. Sherm was actually, it's funny, guys. Sherm Stevens in the chat right now. He was the one that convinced me many, many years ago to launch our first product under Semantic Mastery, which was IFTTT SEO Academy. I'll never forget that. And that we had to change the name because we got a cease and desist letter from IFTTT that we were using their name. So that's when it changed to Syndication Academy. But the first product that we launched under the Semantic Mastery brand was IFTTT SEO Academy. And it was Sherm Stevens was the one that convinced me to do it. And so interesting to see you here, man. Good to see you. I hope everything's all right. I'm going to answer this question and we'll get into Sherm's questions a little bit longer. He says, Alex says, hey, Bradley, will creating Web 2 citations, money site links, etc. for a new domain too quickly look suspicious to Google? Not usually branded assets and such and citations. That's not usually an issue. Link building can be, but depends on the link source or type, really. For example, a press release, you know, it's normal for businesses to announce that they're new, like announce their opening, etc. And so oftentimes that is normal to get a flood of new inbound links from press and if they get covered by local media, for example, they're going to get a lot of attention, a lot of links probably. So it depends on the type of link. If you're going out and buying PBN links and stuff, yeah, you don't want to be too aggressive with that. I do recommend doing a competitive link analysis, guys. I provide full training for free as part of our YouTube channel with the templates, exact step-by-step training for how to do competitive link analysis. And I don't do any link building ever for any campaign without doing competitive link analysis first, so that I know the quantity of links, the anchor text that I should be using, and the relevance metrics that I should be hitting. And I do all of that before I'll ever build a link to a site. Like a traditional link. Web 2s, things like that. We do that right out of the gate. And I don't think you can be too aggressive with that kind of stuff because they're supporting assets, but you can be with regular links, in my opinion. What do you say, Brad?
Well said. That's exactly my approach to it. Brand is king. That's where I would go with it. And aside from that, though, yeah, I'm going to do an analysis before we do anything else.
Yep. And guys, I'm telling you, we do competitive link analysis reports for every single client every single month for every keyword that we're analyzing for that client. And so we have for 3 years now, over 3 years, because I started this in January of 2022, the semantic links. And so for 3 years, we've been doing the top ranked competitor backlink analysis for local search queries, month in and month out for 3 years for well over 100 local business clients. And so we have an enormous amount of backlink profile data for local search queries. And I'm telling you, 90%, if not 95% of every local search query we analyze shows the top ranked competitor's primary anchor text type is brand anchors. And so again, it's 100% that brand is killing it right now. That is what we should be focusing on first and foremost in local SEO, in my opinion, is building brand authority.
Yep.
So there's 4 pillars to what we do with semantic links. And I pitch this on every sales call. I say this to every contact on a sales call which are agency folk on sales calls for semantic links. And I always say 4 pillars of competitive link analysis, build brand authority, increase relevance, and those 3 result in increased search exposure. And that's the process in which we go through every single time. So good question, though. All right, so this one is from Sherm. He's saying, Bradley, hope you're doing well. Long time no see. I have an SEO client who has added other mechanical services to his HVAC offerings, plumbing, electrical, appliance repair, radon testing, and mitigation, and wants to edit his GBP and location names to reflect all of those services and locations. We built his website in GMBs 7 years ago and created individual suburb GMBs for his business, and he's been ranking well. We are in the process of rebuilding his website with additional service pages to better reflect the new offerings. Don't worry, we include redirects if any page URLs change. Goals with the website rebuild is to improve the user interface, especially for mobile, and improve page load times a bit. He's been ranking well for thousands of keywords for a long time, so his domain has a great reputation. Unfortunately, he got a little overzealous and decided to try changing the GBP location names, stuffing keywords and all those services into the names without consulting me. Don't you love it when the business owners try to help you with your SEO? Stop helping, right? He also tried adding categories for those services in the GBPs, but those steps resulted in suspended GBPs, which is understandable. Those locations now require re-verification. They are still live and ranking. We just can't respond to the, to the reviews or to add new content. Yeah, I've got a number of those myself that are in re-verification status that I'll never be able to re-verify, but they are still published. It does suck, but at least they're still live. So you still can actually rank them. I'm trying to convince him to simplify or standardize his GBP names instead of keyword stuffing, which I recommend. I highly recommend that. I'm thinking about the following formula would work well. Company name, home service pros, location would be a better strategy than stuffing. Yes, but I actually pulled this up earlier, Sherm, because I looked at the home service pros. That's not bad, but here's what I want to show you guys. If you look up like home repair, let me zoom in on this a little bit. If you look up home repair, Wikipedia and Google, you'll see that home repair comes up, and there's renovation, which is also called remodeling, but that's broad renovation. But then there's this one that comes up, right? So you'll see like home renovation, which is just a redirect, so that's an entity variant that links to home improvement, okay? And home improvement, if you read the entity, right, the topic or entity, right? That's what I call this. It says the concept of home improvement, home renovation, or remodeling is the process of renovating, making improvements, or making additions to one's home. If you scroll down here, now it tells you here are the different types of services that are related to the entity home improvement, right? Or associated with the entity home improvement. And that is upgrading HVAC systems, talking about hot tubs and spas, plumbing, electrical, waterproofing, soundproofing, roofing, window replacement, chimney services, painting, electrical, wallpapering, furniture polishing. You guys see this? This is the appropriate term. So, Sherm, yes, you're on the right path. I would go with home improvement as the entity. And by the way, remember, guys, if you click on tools, anything that's in bolded text in the paragraph text, not necessarily headings or subheadings, but paragraph text within the topic page or entity page for Wikipedia are interchangeable. That means there's synonyms that can be used interchangeably with this term. But also, if you click on tools, what links here, hide transclusions and hide links, and click go. These are also entity variants, right? So you can use any one of these terms interchangeably, and it all means that, if that makes sense. So you can pick whichever one seems to be the most relevant and appropriate. Home repair is not as relevant, in my opinion, because this is more about repair services, where clearly this is, as it states in the first paragraph, it's about making improvements, additions, etc., and these are all associated with it. So to get back to your question, I do like this way better. I do also like having a location name appended when it's a multi-location business, because that delineates the locations, makes it much more distinguishable, and it makes it easier to manage when you're working on multiple locations for that one client, because it's easy to see which location right in the name. So thoughts on that, Brian, from you, please.
No, that's 100%. That's the way that I would go with it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. We have to find new physical locations for short-term rentals, then decorate with company CISS to get re-verified or new GBPs. I agree. Yes. Also, I do recommend doing press releases when you're changing names of GBPs. Do that first. Use Yext Power Listings or something also. Do all that first and give it about a month and I like to use a premium distribution press release when I do that too. So I like to do Yext Power Listings where I'll make the changes of the name or whatever to the GBP in the Power Listings first. Then I would publish a press release that reinforces those changes with a premium distribution. And then I will give it at least 2 weeks after the press release has been published, but usually I want to give it about a month before I will go in and make the change in the GBP. And here's one other trick. Do a suggestion edit to the GBP as a Google local guide, not with a Google Manager profile, and see if it will take. After you have that supporting documentation from citations, press releases, etc., a lot of the times you can just suggest an edit and it will take. It will be approved. And that's a much better and safer way to do it than having to do it as a business profile manager, because that's where it's more likely to get suspended. Like if you suggest an edit, it's not going to suspend it. They're just going to either deny it or approve it. That's it. That makes sense. Your thoughts on that, Brian?
Yeah, the key right there is also the having the supporting documentation, having that ahead of time. People get overzealous about just, I need to make this change right here, right now, and instead of giving it that time. The other thing, as you were mentioning, is that third party. I've seen both local guide and without local guide being able to make that. It goes
Yes.
into the trust of the account that you're actually making the edit with. But making that edit through a third party not associated with the business, absolutely critical right there.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And so again, like I said, there's been some times where no matter how many times I suggest an edit, the name change gets denied. And so then I will go into the profile manager at that time and make the change. I just did that last week, actually, with another one of my GVPs that I rebranded from a Tree Care HQ local brand to a Felling Pro brand. And I tried, it was the Tree Care HQ Charlottesville, which is now Albemarle Felling Pro. And that one I must have submitted, and I had some of our mastermind members also that were local guides submit the edit request to change the name. And Google denied every fucking one of them. And so finally I just went into the GBP profile manager last week and changed the name, and it took. And it didn't suspend. So we're golden. But sometimes, most of the time, I can get it changed by just suggesting an edit.
Yep.
So, all right, guys, we're at the 5 o'clock mark, and I want to respect Brian's time because he was so gracious to be here with us today. And thank you, Brian, for coming on, man. It's great seeing you. And I'm looking forward to participating in a mini mastermind with you about some AI stuff, man. We got to cook
Outstanding.
up some pretty cool stuff. So
Very cool.
thanks for being here, man.